And that was
behind
the
him and pushed.
1970 New Mexico State basketball team that went to the Final Four and could have won the national championship had Big Sam Lacey not have been injured in the first half. There's a lot of great stories about that great team. And Sam Lacey's in the New Mexico's Hall of Fame from that team, and Jimmy Connors and Lou Henson. And now you're nominating a fourth member of that team, Chito Reyes. What literally procedure did you have to go through?
Okay, on the New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame, the nomination form is there. So you download the form, you fill out the form in its entirety. I did ask Chito to
Jimmy
his resume.
Collins is what I meant to say, not Jimmy Connors. Jimmy Connors is a tennis player. Jimmy Collins is the great New Mexico State Aggie. So sorry about that to all of you.
Yeah, you were putting us in a pretty high category there for a minute. But
Okay, go ahead, Dr.
the form is very inclusive. It does ask for information where the candidate was born, where he attended school, and his athletic accomplishments. Now, his athletic accomplishments and his community service, I think, are two criteria that takes a strong look at. And you and I and Chito pretty much can attest to his athletic accomplishments on that fantastic team at that fantastic school. Even though I'm from up north, I will absolutely support the candidate from the south. It's been one of my concerns that the New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame was almost the Albuquerque Hall of Fame, and the North and the South had been kind of ignored. So once I got in, it was my decision and my commitment to try to get more people and the South and the East and the West. I want Albuquerque to know that there are some really top-notch people out there that are very, very deserving. Now, what's impressive about Chito is he played in that final four. The Final Four is almost one game shy of being in the final game. And once you are in the final game, anything can happen. But after his playing days at New Mexico State, he did play for the Mexican national team, did represent the Mexican several international contests. He was eventually selected to the Mexico national team for the Toronto Olympics. Chito, you're going to have to help me here in terms of
introduce Chito. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, and he's in a week. Well, I guess your application or nomination is literally in the file already. So let's introduce him. And he's got a little too much headroom there, so if we can get him to tilt his camera some, then we'll get a better look at this handsome guy who was the star for the Aggies in 1970. Chito Reyes, good morning. We give you a standing ovation for officially being nominated right here on this show by Dr. Maestas. Congratulations on your nomination.
Wow. Hey, first of all, thank you. It's um, to hear it from you guys, especially you two distinguished gentlemen, and to even be considered for something like this. It just I have no words. You leave me speechless. I usually have no problem coming up with the words, but right now I'm just I'm in awe. I'm humbled by your consideration, and it just means a lot to me in the sense that I think being from New Mexico, and I think that's the epitome of being like Dr. Maestra said, you're at the top of the mountain, you're the Mecca. And to be even considered, much less inducted, to be even considered is just quite an honor. And I'm humbled. I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about being there in Stallman Farms, and growing up with a lot of my young friends that we were out, picking pecans and picking cotton, and what a better way to start a life, learning how to work, how to do things, that's involved in supporting your family and your friends and being part of the New Mexico life. And to be considered like this, boy, is I'm humbled. Like I said, I have no words for it. I'm so honored right now. And man, thank you so much.
Well, Dr. Ron Maestas, this is the first step. It's a nomination. You give the people the first look as why he qualifies, and there are a lot of people that can get on, and the resume is long, and he's got letters behind him from friends and foe and coaches and residents of Las Cruces and Los Angeles. Wherever he's traveled, people got to know him quite well. So are you encouraging people who support Chito to be nominated to write in a little story about their friend, or maybe he was a teammate, whatever he was to them? Do you mandate that as part of the resume?
Absolutely. And I need to emphasize that the nomination now goes to the nominating committee. And the nominating committee will then take a look at all applicants and then rank them, make recommendations to the full board of directors. The nomination committee, I believe, is 6 or 7. Now, one of the things that the New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame does, it uses a public voting on Facebook, and there is where we can make an impact. We need to get all of our friends and colleagues all over that know Chito to dial into the Facebook, and that will be noted when the time comes. But it's very simple. It's a link that says like. Yes, vote. So it's very important, because when I was being considered, I received 1,600 votes from my former colleagues, my students, my friends, my relatives. I beat the doors down to be able to get all of their help. And without that help, that gives the board additional information to make their final selections. Now, I believe that the board does limit the number of inductions in any one year to 7. Candidate at 75% of the votes of the entire board of directors. And that's about 22 or 23. It's a very elaborate process, very extensive process. I think it's one of the better processes in the country because it does allow people to go out and register their votes.
Okay.
So voting is one of the crucial ways to be able to get Chito on the final ballot. As a member of the nominating committee this year, I will present Chito, and believe you, I will filibuster. You know that filibuster that we hear about up in the nation's capital? I will filibuster that committee and say, okay, Ron, we heard you. Okay, let's get Chito to the next level. Now, I don't want to oversimplify it, but it is a one-time shot. I was personally shocked that I was selected because when you look at some of those people in that class, there were some very strong people. Professional football players, professional boxer, Johnny Tapia, a professional doctor, he had a high school coach, female, very successful in New Mexico.
And their resumes are presented to the board of directors or the 7 selected of members of that specific committee, and then the vote. It's a very difficult process. And boy, I tell you what, when they get into those meetings of voting and comparing and nominating and discussing their credentials, if you will, boy, those are tough meetings to be in. It's not an easy task, a very difficult process to get into the prestigious New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame. So we want to put word out to all of you today out there. If you know somebody that certainly is deserving without a question or a doubt, take it upon yourself to write the nomination, because we're what, a month or 2 or less away from nominating the list for the next Hall of Fame experience.
That's correct.
Okay. So this is a heads up, sort of a gesture today. And those who are nominated, I'm going to grab them and put them on this show as well, so you can hear them, hear their story, see them, and go back in time with them while we strengthen their resume and everybody gets an equal opportunity. So it's a tough process, Doctor, but it's a fun and enjoyable process as well. Would you agree?
That's correct. And I make my commitment today, as well as when I decided to put Chito's name on the list, that I will work my hardest.
Well, with that, that's a motivating small speech on what has to happen here. And the fun thing is the public, as you just stated, can take part. But if you know somebody and you really feel committed to them over what you know about their athletic past or their connection to sports in New Mexico during your time, reading newspapers, watching them play, watching them coach, whatever it might be, fight hard for your candidate. And that's what this process really is all about. You know about them, get the committee to know about them as well. And Chito, all that we know about you over the years is headlines and great character, the Olympic Games, the great Aggie team of 1970, academic All-American. Wow, you got a strong resume, Chito. Congratulations for that. And if you don't mind, run down some of the stature of your resume. Where did you come from? Who inspired you to be these great things? Who are the people responsible for motivating you to be an athlete, to be a scholar? How did you make the Mexican Olympic team? We'll give you the stage right now.
Well, like I said, I'm still kind of in awe, and I'm really humbled and appreciative of this moment and having been with the doctor and you, Henry. You stop and reflect on your life, and you start thinking about your past, and sometimes you can sit there and just go back a few years, back here, even more years. And I look back on the great opportunity to be raised down in the southern part of New Mexico and in a place called Stallman Farms. And they were, at that time, was the largest pecan orchard in the world. And, I was part of our family lived right in one of them little village in there. And because of my grandmother and all my relatives, and my uncles and my mom and my dad and my grandparents, you were part of the whole family, and you went out and you went after your elementary school. You would come back in that yellow bus and get home and change clothes. So you had to go out on the field and find my grandfather and work till the sun went down. And you come back and it's like no big deal, it's just part of it. And I think the mentality of all of that is just what makes you realize that you have to work, that you have to do something, and that you just don't cruise around things. And I think that's what helped me. And you try to, even trying to pick cotton, you try to, I always try to, let me get more, let me pick this or that. And then I started getting that mentality, hey, you know what, I can do this. I can start working and start being bettering myself. Henry, there was a time where I think we were in elementary, the 6th grade or so, that we had an assembly. And I don't remember exactly who the gentleman was, but I remember he came with like a motivational speaker. And I remember one of the last things he said was that about our working hard and all that. But he also said, choose not to be a common man, for you have the right to be uncommon if you can. And you know what? And I felt, you know what? I can do this. I don't have to be like everybody else, And I took pride in that. And I don't care if I was going to play marbles with you or whatever. I took pride in it. But at the same time, you had to be humble. You can't go around telling people that I can do this, I can do that. Let them tell you. And that's like my grandparents, my grandmother is the one that instilled in me that she always, they were proud of you, but they want you to don't come tell me how good you are. Let other people come tell me. They're not that you're a good ball player, but that you're a good man, because that's the most important thing. And they're going to look back on you and they're going to, you'd rather have your grandmother proud of you because, oh, your grandson opened the door for me. Your grandson helped me do this, instead of being a ball player. And I think as I went along, got older and older, I have relatives, my uncles, and they were all super athletes. And I wanted to be like them. I had good role models, Henry. I had really good role models within the family. I'm talking about in the farms, the Stallman Farms. We had no other kind of social media or any kind of games or anything.
Chito, I agree.
Yeah. Go
Chito,
ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, doctor.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to remind Henry, because he's a city boy. He didn't grow up in the farms, but
Yeah,
working in the cotton fields, and I worked in the lettuce fields
yeah,
or on the potato field, picking potatoes, and you get a row of potatoes from here to Timbuktu, you soon realize the value of an education.
yeah, exactly. And you know what? The thing, like I said, I learned that you're not going to complain about it. There's no such thing as you are complaining, because you're going to do what you got to do. And what I learned was the fact that, that I started wanting to be, like I said, I didn't like when that, like I said, I'll never remember what his name was, but he set me on the right path and saying, hey, you don't have to be like everybody else. Even if you're going to go pick potatoes, you're going to pick pecans. Hey, man, you know what? Let me pick better than the other guy, even more so. And it went on like this. And you go to school, you try to get, you see a problem, you wanted to get that right. You didn't want to get it wrong. And I started taking that mentality in everything that I did. I mean, I wasn't always going to be the best at it, but I was going to try to be the best. And as I went on, I started learning, more and more about what it takes, how important the education factor was. I realized that I was raised down in New Mexico up with my grandmother and my grandparents up until the 9th grade. My mom and my dad had moved out to Los Angeles, and then I stayed back with my grandmother. And to me, that was one of the most it's awesome experiences, because I developed a work ethic, a moral ethic, and started developing a character because I wanted to do the right thing, especially for my grandmother. When I when I got back and I came back to rejoin my mom and my dad here in LA, well, now I'm coming from New Mexico, and without knowing, I'm all of a sudden I'm enrolled in a very prestigious high school, John Marshall High School. And at that time, was mostly Caucasian, and there wasn't too many Latinos. There wasn't, as a matter of fact, I was the only Latino on the team then too. And so what I brought to me was some of that self-imposed pride and that work ethic that I felt I needed. Okay, I'm going to go here, but let me show these guys what I know. I mean, like I said, I'm not no better, but I'm going to go on and try to do things. So eventually I started. I was a baseball player too. I used to love to play baseball, and then I started getting these few accolades here and there in basketball. And as I started growing, I started realizing that this my academics was so much part of it, because what I could do on the field, I could do in the classroom. And I didn't want to get things wrong in the classroom. So I started, was very fortunate that I was able to study. And eventually, after my high school years, I because of my academic success, whatever, I was getting all these scholarship offers. I was getting scholarship offers from all sorts of over 100, not even big names, but some small colleges. I got over 100 letters from universities and colleges, and offered me a chance to go to their school. And like I said, they weren't all big, but there was, the Arizonas, Arizona States, UCLA, USC, and all these things simply because of the fact that I studied, that I had some decent academic grades. And I stopped and think, I even got an offer from the Naval Academy. And I started thinking, what about it taking that, and gone that route, how my life would have changed. But I started realizing that back then, unfortunately, I never got to see a guidance counselor in high school. So nobody ever told me that, if you go to UCLA, you get this kind of education. If you go to USC, this kind of, if you go to the Naval Academy. But I took it upon myself, and then New Mexico State came along, and my grandmother was still there. And then Coach Henson was there, and they were building a brand new arena, and then Coach Henson was there, and they had a really good team. And so in a way, it was a no-brainer. Let me go back down and play for my grandma, for my family, for my friends. And as a result, when once the coach was calling me every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, latter part of my senior year. And next thing you know, I said, okay, I'm going to New Mexico State. And that was probably the best thing I could have ever happened to me. And so once I left my mom and dad again to go back to New Mexico State, now I'm going to play in front of my grandmother and my relatives and my friends from elementary, from San Miguel, from Anthony, from Gadsden, from all of these people over there. And so now I've felt even a bigger sense of pride, and I put a kind of like a self-imposed pressure on myself that I needed to do well. I couldn't let anybody down, and I think that's what kind of pushed me, and to be able to land on in good hands, like with Coach Henson, and then be on a team with Sam Lacey, Jimmy Collins, Charlie Chris, and all these guys. And it became a thing where it was a perfect blend that we got in here, and our success spoke for itself. And the thing about it is that the team became celebrities to Las Cruces and to New Mexico. But you anywhere you went, you always felt good that people, recognized, well, it's a big old tall Latino going out there. Well, they know this guy must be one of the players. So the thing is that it offered me an opportunity to carry myself in a manner that I had to do well, and I was not about to start goofing off or do anything because of this, simply because of the fact I knew my grandmother was watching, and I knew all this moral ethics that I had within myself to work hard. As a result, when I graduated from New Mexico State, and after our success, and we all had went our ways, I had an offer. Actually, my freshman year, I had an opportunity to go play an exhibition game in Mexico, in Chihuahua. And our freshman team went to go play there, and we played the national champions, the Dorados, and we beat them and came back. 2 weeks later, they offered me an opportunity to go play in the national championships as a 17-year-old, playing with Chihuahua and playing the national championships. We won that. And so that kind of started my little legacy that I had in Mexico. And they always kept in touch with me. And so when I left New Mexico State, they offered me an opportunity to go join them, playing in the league that they had. But I fractured my knee, and I wasn't getting well. I came back. They started the pro league down there, and then they played in that league. I got selected for the national team, and I got to travel. All over the world. We went to Europe. We went to South America. Cuba. We went to Dominican Republic. So I got to see a lot of stuff from that. When would I have ever seen this? I would have never had an opportunity to go down to Brazil, to Argentina, to Dominican Republic, go to Canada, all these places, and all representing my grandmothers in our country, Mexico. I'm an American citizen, but my grandmothers, they were from Chihuahua. And so it took a lot of pride. And the thing about it is that I felt really good about it, because it wasn't just a one-time thing. They would call me there to go play, because they'd call me back. They wanted me back. And so I took pride in that. That sometimes they'll call you and, okay, you did right. But then they wanted me to come back. So eventually I established quite a rapport with the rest of the ball players, and they're in Mexico. And so they saw me. I got to play in the Central American games with them. I got to play in the Pan American games with them, in the Olympics, And
So
yeah,
it seems all these phases of your life, there's been this competition, competing, facing Lou Henson, who is evaluating you with your character attributes, your athletic attributes, your commitment and passion to academics, and all these phases of your life are being evaluated. And even today, with your nomination by Dr. Maestas to be a member of the New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame, now you're going through another process of evaluation. You've been an outstanding principal, leader for children, for kids in Los Angeles. There was a group there saying, Should we hire this man for this difficult job? You're constantly being evaluated for these big promotions and these big awards. Let me press on two of your great attributes, your great character. How do you stay on the straight and narrow, having so many friends? Your athletic ability, impressing Coach Henson and his coaches on you. Can you play the game? Wow. How do you think you passed and graduated from all these evaluations?
Yeah. You know what? I learned a long time ago that, and that's what I try to strive to tell my, exemplify that to my students and share that within my school. You know, I always told them, try to share them that sometimes you may not have a penny in your pocket. But if your word is good, if your character is good, people will open doors for you. And that's the most important thing that you can do. And what I try to do, you know, I tell them, look, this is who I am. And hopefully that's enough, you know, and you build that character. And you don't go around telling people who you are or what you are, or you got to be humble in that respect. And that, you know, going back to the same thing that they kept calling me back down with the national teams in Mexico. And the result, you know, there's a group of guys that from the Olympic team that they're still alive. And to this day, every Saturday, they have this, you know, like a Zoom media reunion. And they've accepted me as one of them, as one of their brothers, even though I'm the only one in the United States. And when you started going into I took pride too that I became a high school teacher, a vice principal, and a principal, but not because I was an athlete. So here's the thing, that they didn't give me that job because I played for the Aggies, because I did that. And so that's the thing that sometimes you got to look at and take pride in the fact, hey, people didn't know, you know, that I had done this or that. And so whatever I kind of applied myself to that, you know, it was one of the things that if it's going to come my way, it's because I got to work at who I am and then you show them that I can do this. And the most important thing that I learned while, you know, being in the educational field is, and I was working with all these at-risk students, the ones that are at risk and you know, troubled kids. And I always learned that, you know, it's so important to listen to them. And you learn just by listening to them, because once they know that you're paying attention, that you care, that you want to help and keep your promises to them, you know, that means a lot to them. And they can come to you, you know, they'll come and hug you and they'll do that. And like I said, you take pride in them, you know, that they're not afraid to come and approach you and do that. And so, and sometimes you can walk in anywhere. I've always told people that, you know, if you're a good character, and at the end of the day, you come home and you close that door behind you, you know, and you can look in the mirror, okay, we're good, you know, I'm good for today again, you know. And I've just been so blessed that everything's kind of fallen in place. And to this day, I can honestly say that I'm a rich man, not materialistic wise, but in my heart, that my experiences, my friends, and the experiences that I wish I could share with the whole world, you know. But that's just the whole thing, that I feel I'm a very rich man is internally in my heart, and whatever people that reflect on that and say, well, you know, this is my friend, you did this, this is my friend. It's not what I did. It's who I am. At the end of the day, they can actually come next to me and sit down. Hey, let's have a cup of coffee. Let's have some fries or something, you know. But I can't say enough how blessed I am that, and the good Lord has helped me, given me strength and my my faith. And like I said, I've always said this, that once I left Coach Henson, you know, he instilled in me the ability to establish a work ethic, a moral ethic, and be aware that whatever I was doing was going to help me in the future become a future productive citizen and that was going to help me along in my journey. And whatever I did, no matter where I traveled, no matter, I could have been in Dominican Republic than in Brazil or Russia or whatever. And whatever challenge I was going to be faced with, I always felt I was physically, emotionally, and mentally prepared for that. And that came out of confidence that I learned from my being with Coach Henson and all my experiences. So, like I said, it just I don't even know what else to say. It's amazing, and I'm real blessed that I'm here, talking to you guys about this.
Chito,
Dr. Maestas, you had to go through the same experience of impressing this board to be a member of this exclusive class. Once it was all said and done, and the first day you heard that you were literally selected to be inducted, literally inducted into the New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame, that very second that you were given this great news, how did you feel, Doctor?
been a surreal, so surreal that the last 3-4 years have been just like I had died and gone to heaven in terms of the sports world. I get recognized every day for being in the New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame. And I just want to also mention to Chito about this public voting, because the public voting is used, for example, the person that comes out with the most votes goes to the top of the list. When the final committee
The final list of nominations,
recommendations.
it's not an immediate induction, but you make the final 30 immediately, or the final 15 list, or
Right.
okay.
But you get, if you can get the public vote out, and I mentioned earlier, I was able to garner 1,600 supporters through the public voting on Facebook. And that put me automatically on the top of the list to then be get to the final selection. So to me, that's crucial. That's a technique, a strategy. Suggest that we go out, any of your contacts, any of your friends, any. I'm sure by this point you have a number of personal as well as professional contacts on your mailing list.
Now, Dr. Maestas, you really had a challenge, because if I recall, there were about 75 nominations for your list, and outstanding New Mexicans. And that's a tough chore for that board, to reduce that 75 to a final 15. That is tough work, because there's so many outstanding athletes and coaches and people that are nominated. And it's not an easy situation to overcome or challenge or compete against. Would you?
Right. And once you're nominated, you're on that list forever. And that's why when Henry said there could be 75, some of those are made up of the people that were not selected in the final ballot. So they go in the hopper again and again and again. But I was fortunate because of, one, my accomplishments as an educator. I had a commitment, a very strong academic, athletic involvement. I've been a high school college referee for 50 years now. My wife thinks I'm nuts.
National Coach of the Year,
No,
District Coach of the Year,
yes,
great educator, got his PhD, and member of the faculty at New Mexico Highlands University, a very impressive faculty at that. So,
I was the dean of the School of Business.
wow.
I've written in my academic life, I've written close to 20, 25 books that have been used all over the country, all over the world. But I think Chito is head and shoulders above Ron Maestas.
No,
So,
no.
oh yeah,
Well,
the
you're
only thing that
great.
if you make it, I'm gonna challenge you to a racquetball match. And my only question is, which hand do I use? I'll try
Yeah,
one
no.
hand behind my back.
I find there's a little trick behind that. You're snickering me into something. I mean, I can't win. So, no, but I appreciate that. Everything you've done.
That
What you've
flavor-
done already for me is amazing. Just for you guys to kind of have the friendship that I have already with you and when Henry, man, that's another blessing in itself. You know
Well,
what?
I'll give you fair warning, Chito. All those other names are going to appear on this show as well.
That's fine. Yeah, good. That's good. That's what it's all about. I tell you, it's not about that I want. It's just you already made my day. You already made my just this nomination, but I will always be indebted to you guys for your efforts in trying to bringing my name up at least. So that's great. And I appreciate
Who
it.
is the main inspiration behind your success? If there's one or two people that you would say, wow, I couldn't have got here without their inspiration. Who are those people?
Well, I think one I know for a fact that even when I from birth and growing up was definitely my grandmother, my mom's mom, Carolina Reyes, and my mom, of course, Lisa Enrito Reyes. But I think when I really started to develop into what I was really going to become was when Coach Henson got a hold of me, because I was 17 years old, Henry, when I came and I had never really had anybody to really take me by the hand. And it's nothing against my mom and my dad, but they never really had the opportunity to go to school or be educated because they had to work when they were growing up. And so I never really had anybody really guide me. But then when I was 17 years old and New Mexico State offered me that scholarship, I went down there and I really solidified my ideals and what it takes to be alive. Because I think, one thing that people don't understand that realize that for our team that we had, the final four team, think about all the universities that are starting at the beginning of the year, over 800 or something like that start the year off shooting for that Final Four. And it's going to take a certain special team or a certain moment to be able to surpass all the hurdles and eventually get to the end and be one of the survivors. And, to be the guys that we had, like the Super Sam Lacey's, the Jimmy Collins, the Charlie Chris, and Jeff Smith and John and all these guys, to be like that, you never heard about something bad that we did out there. We were out, doing bad. We were all, we were out. We were not messing around. We weren't angels, but at the same time, we always were aware of our character. And to this day, a lot of the people are grateful. We just had this reunion this past year, and I'll tell you one thing real quick, and I don't want to dwell on this, but we had this reunion, this 50th reunion this past year, and 9 of the 13 guys showed up, and we see there, and to see all the other people come in and hugging us and taking pictures with us and all this. It was amazing, but it was until the last day that we were going to be together. The next day, everybody was going to fly out. We were there and we were at this restaurant brewery type thing, and it was packed with students. I mean, it was a lot of people. And we had a little corner, just the guys, and we were going to say like our last goodbyes, for the moment. And I'll never forget this, despite the fact that New Mexico State and everybody did an amazing job in the city and welcoming us and honoring us and luncheons and this and that. That one particular night before we left, as we all stood up and hugged each other, as we're walking out, this is all of us, okay, we're walking onto the cars. The whole place, over 100 people, way over, stood up and gave us a standing ovation. They didn't know us personally. They didn't know us, but that to me meant a lot of what it means to these people, to the city, to the university, to everybody, what they did. And in a way they were thanking us for giving us that special moment. And that is special when you can affect people and bring some happiness to the community, and you're part of it. And like I said, I was the Latino on there that's why I said I had self-imposed pressure on me, that I wasn't just going to be on the bench. I needed to go out there and perform. And so, like to think that, I was okay. But like I said, it's amazing how people have been affected by all of this. And of course, to me, I'm forever be grateful. And every time we go back to Las Cruces and be around there, man, it's amazing. And the friendships and the character that Coach Henson is still in it, going back, my grandmother, and of course my parents and the people around me. But I think most of all is who really solidified my ideal of what it would be is Coach Henson. And, of course, my grandmother, my moral, character. So forever be indebted.
And you know what? I consider that respect.
Yes.
If the people, the restaurant follow you out,
Yeah.
that is respect.
Yeah. That was amazing, Doctor. It was, the kind I could still think about it, because it just didn't affect me. All of us, we just turned and looked at each other, and the whole restaurant, there were over 100 students and like this, and we weren't part of that group. That wasn't planned or anything like that, but they all stood up and gave us a standing ovation as we were walking out. And amazing. That's, like I said, it was a highlight of our whole reunion thing. But yes, so thanks.
Henry.
Yes, sir.
I have another Zoom conference coming up in about 5 minutes.
We will cut this short.
I'm going to have to sign off.
Okay.
But
we only have about 10 minutes left in the show anyway.
Chito, it's wonderful to see you. I'm excited. I give you my commitment.
You got it.
I will do whatever, anything and everything.
You're a good man, and like I said, to be able to talk to you and consider you my friend, that in itself is an honor. And I'm already a winner with you guys. Thank you for everything.
And
just be careful en route to your next meeting.
It'll be right here. I got to just switch some buttons. You guys have a good day.
Thank you, Doctor.
Well, Chito, I want to get to the fun reality with you real quick.
Oh, boy.
Take that bus ride, or maybe Coach Henson flew you from El Paso to Albuquerque, or the bus ride itself, knowing there's going to be 18,000 fans waiting for you and your buddies when you walk into that building known as the famous pit.
Yeah.
The anticipation, driving, looking at film on the way or whatever you're doing, preparing for the game. And once you got to the building, there it is. There's the pit. Your heart starts beating. You see the parking lot filling up. Fans walking into the building. They've come to see you and your team play their beloved New Mexico Lobos.
Yeah.
What was the feeling like getting ready for the big game, the rivalry game?
Yeah. That I remember we were of course, if the whole Albuquerque is ready, waiting for to bombard us. But I remember we had a shoot around, and early in the morning, go have breakfast, and then they took us to the arena and just to have a little shoot around, get free throws to get used to the baskets, and then of course the crowd wasn't there yet, and so it was like when we drive up, I see that the arena up there by itself, and I started realizing, this is the battlegrounds where we're going to be in there tonight. And so I remember getting in there and just looking around and realizing what this is an amazing event, but not just for us, but for the Lobos, for the and so when game time, I remember we were at the hotel and we're all got dressed and get ready to go to the arena, and we drive up and we start seeing all the lights of the cars and stuff, and our bus pulls up and we go into our dressing room and we don't see anybody because we go underground. We're right there where we gotta come out for the tunnel. And I remember just distinctly that I'm nervous, Sam's nervous, Charlie's nervous, Jimmy's nervous, and you can't say you're not nervous. You are nervous because you're about to engage in something. But then, but then as long as she's nervous with me and he's nervous with me and he's nervous, we're going to be nervous together. We're going to go out there and go out there. And so when it's time to, you guys come out, we got to run out through that tunnel. And then you hear all the boos, all the cheers where we come out. But you're running out. It's like a stream of color or crimson that we had out there in our uniforms and run out there. And we had our fair share of fans. But you go out there and then the people are going crazy and we're about to start, and then when it's time to, other people, and you can already hear people yelling at you and stuff. And to be able to say you're a part of one of the wars that are so always remembered, then people can talk back. Oh, I remember when you guys played this, when we played that game that year, like when I talked to Peter Gibson, remember that we were talking, we did this, we did that. And it's hard to believe, it's hard to explain to people what you're feeling, what the thing is. Like I've always go back to the same word, that intangible factor. I can't explain to you exactly how I felt. I can't say what it is to be there, but it's just something that tingles in your body. You go out there and once you get going, just how your day is going to go. You're running, you're feeling good, and you're not even tired. You're running around like running but you feel so you get knocked in the head a little bit with elbows first, and now we're in battle now, and it's an amazing feeling. Where at the same time, Henry, all the ball players, when we would walk in there, they want to beat you bad, and you want to beat them bad. But it's always a matter of respect that you always want to do that. As when you get. You respect their athletic ability and they respect you because they're trying to stop you. And like Coach, I remember Coach King is the one that would, before it first started. And then, with Coach Hansen would tell her, we got to do this to stop Willie Long. We got to do this to stop, Stretch Howard. We got to do this to, beat all these other guys. And on the other hand, their coach is trying to do the same thing, tell us you got to stop this. They're trying to stop to keep you from doing what you got to do. And it's awesome. It's an awesome feeling. You'll never forget.
And being there as a fan, we get nervous too.
Yeah.
As a broadcaster of the game,
yeah,
I'm shaking like a leaf. And the whole experience of Aggies Lobos in the pit or the Pan Americans.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Everybody's got to be there. One of those groups, a player, coach, or broadcaster, or a fan. The fans have all that fun. I don't know who's got the more rowdy crowd to the Lobos, but it's fun to be there.
But you remember, Henry, how much you couldn't buy a ticket. You couldn't get a ticket to any of those games. No one. They were very scarce. Any extra one, they were allowed to go in there, So
you played when we had 18,000 seats.
Yeah.
I mean, they wouldn't even let the fire marshal in.
Yeah, I know. I know.
hanging on the door.
It was crazy, 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 crazy. But
Chito, what
but
a
you feel
pleasure to have you on with us today.
well.
And reminding all of you other people, if you've got that special person that you want to nominate, go to the New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame website and make your nomination, because it won't be too long down the road that that committee will be voting and looking over the list of outstanding nominees. So if you've got that one special one, get his name in that website as soon as you can. And Dr. Maestas wanted to get Chito in that website early. There are other ones in there already, but Chito, congratulations on being nominated. You got a process to go,
Yeah.
but you certainly are worthy. There's no
Well,
question about it.
I thank you, Henry. I thank you so much, man, for you and all your efforts.
All of you, and let's go. I just want to thank our sponsors. We may not be able to get them up today, but my goodness, are they impressive. There they are. Gee, Pierre Anastoy, Kevin out there serving all that delicious lunch to the New Mexico Public Schools, Albuquerque Public Schools, Richie Tabbitt at Rax Lumber Company and the Building Supply. They got 6, 7 locations in New Mexico, and Ben Lucero out there at Indigo Mortgage, a former great athlete at Mayfield High School, came this close to making the New Mexico, or excuse me, the United States Olympic Games track and field team. Wow, we got some special athletes out there. And one of these days I'm gonna bring them all on the air, because they have a special commitment to sponsoring this sports show every Monday at 11 o'clock. And soon we're gonna add another show during the week. So it's great to have all that going on. And to Jimmy Tran, our producer, wow, they don't come any better than this guy. And they certainly don't come any smarter than this guy, that's for sure. So thank you, everybody, for being there today. Thank you to the beloved Chito Reyes. Everybody knows him. Everybody loves and respects Chito. And the same description for Dr. Ron Maestas of New Mexico Highlands University, former track and field coach, cross country coach, and author of 9 books. Can you imagine that? Wow, what a pleasure to be with you today. Take care, and we'll see you next Monday right here on Henry T Live, Game Face, Henry T Live. See you soon. Take care. Way to go, Chito.
Yeah, thank you, man. We'll talk later.
Okay, brother. Really, thank you.
Okay, bro.
Bye-bye.